Hi, my name is Steve Evans. I was diagnosed with motor neuron disease in 2007. By the end of 2009, my speech had deteriorated significantly, although most people could still understand me. Using a computer keyboard had become so difficult I was using a mouse with an on-screen keyboard which was very slow. I had briefly tried voice dictation software, and although it had coped surprisingly well with my slurred speech, I had to spend a lot of time making corrections. Also, I knew that it would only get worse, and it didn't really help navigate Windows applications. As with most assistive technology, there had to be a significant investment in time to set it up initially in order to get the most out of it. Like everything with MND, you have to assess the cost and effort of implementing assistive equipment with the length of time that it will be useful for. It was this assessment process which resulted in me ditching voice recognition as well as any head-pointing devices. I wanted to invest everything in a technology that I could use indefinitely. And for anyone with MND, eyegaze is the only option. I deliberately got a system before it was essential to allow time to modify things and practice using it before I was dependent on it, and this decision proved to be extremely beneficial. The Grid 2 software is a superb application, not only in terms of using it but also for modifying its layout to suit the user. The editing interface is powerful, intuitive and almost addictive to use. I had spent some time using the standard grid layouts. I consider the grids to be of two types: dedicated grids with no Windows elements showing, and grid overlays which coexist on the screen with Windows applications. I had initially expected to have limited control with Windows applications and so concentrated on the dedicated grids. The first grids I modified were the communication grid and word processor. The main issue I had was cell sizing. Nice and big for easy selection, but it severely limited the number of cells available in a grid, which meant having to continuously jump to other grids frequently for commonly required cells. So I set about shrinking everything to the minimum usable size and filling the gaps with all the useful cells from 4 other grids. This process was ongoing for a couple of months after I started using the system regularly, replacing infrequently used cells with those I found myself jumping to other grids for. The only significant weakness of the software is the inability to undertake these modifications using eye control. You have to use a mouse. So I was acutely aware that I only had limited time to get everything right before I totally lost the use of my hands. I know that Smartbox would have been able to make these modifications either with me or remotely, but it would have been incredibly frustrating trying to explain what was required. The Grid 2 has its own dedicated grids for web browsing, email and SMS messaging, but the lack of dynamic integration with Internet Explorer or Outlook, and very limited functionality compared with those applications, made me persevere with eyegaze control within Windows. I started the same modification process of the overlay grids, making hybrid grids from the standard ones and setting up automatic overlay grid switching, depending on the application being used. The framework was already there, and by learning the techniques used I could apply them to my grids. Again, fine-tuning took a couple of months to get to the layouts I use today. Having got proficient in controlling Windows applications like Explorer and Outlook, I started using others. writing my blog and posting videos on YouTube. This is where I write my blog. Next I will demonstrate how I update my blog. I tend to prepare any text in the Grid software as the keyboard layout that I designed has a good balance of cell size and functionality to avoid switching grids too often. I will use this text to create the blog entry and taking a video from a recently sent email. Add this by putting on YouTube and linking to it from the blog. I then link it to Facebook. I hope you kept up all that. Live demonstration always risky. I became more confident using the web, and with the help of some text input shortcuts I was soon doing internet shopping, online banking and share dealing. The Grid 2 software also provides environmental control. I designed grids based on the remote controls for my TVs, skyboxes and DVD player, programming every cell by capturing the infrared codes from over 150 buttons was very tedious. I deliberately have identical TVs and DVD players throughout the house to minimize this programming, but it is still laborious. However, what I find the most incredible thing is using my PC remote control software to operate 3 other computers in the house. This means I can sort out problems on my wife's and kids' computers or configure network settings. One of these computers runs with a very high resolution of 1600 by 1200, so viewing it on my 12-inch monitor is a bit of a challenge. Yet on a good day I can manage to be almost pixel accurate and control it. Here is a video as a quick demo. I am now controlling another computer remotely. was showing was how much control I had over the remote computer. I hope that came across. The system is mounted to my wheelchair throughout the day, and at night it is put on a mount clamp to my hoist so I can use it in bed. The system isn't flawless. It is pretty stable, but it does freeze occasionally. I currently have a switch that will restart the system if it does freeze. I have built a device for the switch so it will only restart the computer if I do a double hit. This is to minimize the risk of the computer restarting when I don't want it to. My eyegaze system is my life. Without it I can't do anything, and I am entirely isolated. Being without it for any time is terrible, and the thought of losing it for several days is, well, actually unthinkable. So I have just bought a spare one.